This is News Today. Now, students at Abuabo Methodist Basic School in the Yellow Krobo municipality of the Eastern region have called on government as a matter of urgency to provide a classroom block to replace the existing structure. This, according to them, will end the poor academic performance of the students. Arina Yusuf Mpone reports.
The Abuabo Methodist Basic School was established in 1931 and was later moved from its original place to a new site in 1980 with support from community members. Although the school was established in 1931, it has not seen any major rehabilitation work since. Some students who spoke to Joy News, Asari Daniel and Phyla Francisca, both JHS 3 students, said the bad structures in the school is a major source of worry to the students. This, they say, has contributed to students' poor academic performance at the school. According to the students, anytime it rains, school authorities have no option than to close the school and send students home. They are appealing to government to come to their aid.
When it's raining, the classroom will be wet and we have to close and go. That affects our learning. And also the paid people will be disturbing us when we are learning. They will be making noise. Also the environment, when people are passing, they will be making noise. And we will not concentrate on the learning. We want the government to come to our aid and build a new school for us.
It's time to learn on the rest to the house. So we make our learning. We not finish learning and then we can't speak to our houses. So sometimes we just go home by not learning classes.
Assistant Headmistress Elizabeth Obengwa expressed worry about the bad nature of the school structure. She called on benevolent organizations, NGOs and philanthropists to come to their aid and provide them with decent classroom blocks.
Teaching aids also. Lack of teaching aids. Teaching here is not so we are appealing to individuals and organizations.
The assemblyman for the Abuabo electoral area, Samuel Tetachira, explained to Joy News how the community members assisted the school to put up this KG block.
This school has been there for a long time. There was no KG. So the community has decided to actually put up a structure for the KG. And we did that for about 6-7 years now that we did that.
Chairman of the Parents Teachers Association of the school, Harry Van Dyke, told Joy News about the steps being taken by the community to assist the school.
Meanwhile, the coalition of NGOs in water and sanitation is asking the Ghana Water Company Limited to always have in place alternative measures to forestall the water shortage, which has hit Accra over the past 1 week. Executive Secretary of CONIWAS, Benjamin Arthur, spoke with Roland Walker on the AM show Monday morning.
So what type of advocacy do you undertake at all?
For us, I don't think we want to play it to the extent that it's their fault. It's their fault to the extent that if their internal mechanisms in terms of responding to the emergency is not effective, then that's where we'll come in, that they probably have to review their internal mechanism. Then also in respect of how they meet the customers or the public demand, especially in places where they are not having service, because we heard that they are bringing a backup system in terms of bringing in tanks to supply for some of these places. How has that been effective? Have people received the water? So this is where we will come in and say probably...
And did you come in? Because clearly there were areas that were not receiving those emergency supplies.
Yes, as at Friday, that is where we had the minister with this backup this thing. But up to this morning, we've not monitored to see whether people have received what the minister tried to.
Okay, he told us that now they've restored flow, and so if the pressure is adequate, then I guess supply will reach where usually they get the supplies. Now, let's look at the investment that is needed in the water sector in Ghana. In the next 5 years, how much do we need?
On the average, I think we're looking at around $100 million a year on the average for Ghana Water alone to be able to reach a certain...
That is urban water supply. For the urban water supply, to reach the level that they need to reach. Don't also forget that issues of population growth and all these things have to be factored in. But if we are doing around 40-50 million a year, then definitely we have a gap to
to fill. Internally, well, they are telling us that what they are generating in terms of revenue is not enough.
What percentage?
I think they're doing about 70-80% of the internal revenue that they require, which is coming from the tariff that people are paying. Our concern has been that anytime you see an increase in revenue, it comes at the back of increase in tariff, which means if you don't have increase in tariff, you don't have any mechanism internally to reduce costs, because increase in revenue is not only by increase in tariff. You should also looking at internally what you can do.
The Ghana Water Company Limited has rescheduled its planned shutdown of the Pond Water Treatment Plant. The management of the company says the shutdown of the Pond Treatment Plant for major pipeline interconnection works, which was to start on Monday, 24 February 2014, has been rescheduled. The postponement follows an order from the Ministry of Water Resources, Works and Housing, as well as the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission. GWCL said in the statement that the shutdown will now be from Thursday 27 February to Sunday 2nd March 2014. It says the postponement is to allow water supply in Accra metropolitan area to stabilize following the resumption of water production at the Wager Treatment Plant on Saturday 22nd February 2014. The Water Company Limited also advised the public to take note of the new dates and store water for the period. On to other stories. The Ghana Immigration Service last week arrested 35 foreign illegal miners at Bole in the northern region. They include 24 nationals of Guinea and 11 from Burkina Faso. They were arrested together with their metal detectors and 14 motor unregistered motorbikes, and later taken in 2 vehicles to the Upper West Regional Headquarters of the Ghana Immigration Service, which has oversight responsibility over the Bole office. Correspondent Rafiq Salam joins us for an update. Hello, Rafiq.
Hello, Kamini.
Tell us what's happened after the 35 illegal miners were arrested at Bole.
What actually happened was that after the arrest was made at Bole, they were transported to the regional headquarters in 1 year. Like you rightly said, the Upper West office oversees the Bole office. And so when they were brought to the WA office, what they did was that their statements were taken, and then after which they were transported to the Hamili border and then given to Burkina Faso authorities for them to be repatriated.
When would we see this repatriation happen, if you have an idea?
The repatriation actually did take place last Friday when the incident happened. After they brought them to WA, and then after the statements were taken, they were quickly moved to the border, because according to the regional commander, the Upper West regional commander of the Ghana Immigration Service, Assistant Controller of Immigration, Theodore Sedode, he said that they didn't have much information about them because the people were not caught in the act, and so they have nothing than to send them to the Hamili border, after which they were repatriated. And so they were taken in 2 vehicles. Some 2 urban buses were hired, and then they took them to the Hamili border. And my information, the information revealed that they crossed the border around 6 p.m. on Friday.
And is that finding illegal miners in Bole?
Yeah, the Bole district is very far, is very vast, and there's a place called Tinga, Hui, and other areas, and then where people do go there, and then they do lots of illegal mining. And the place is just a sort of site. Several people are there, and several people are doing illegal mining in the Bole district. And you remember one time I did a report about people even trying to do this illegal mining just on the black water.
And it's very common to find foreigners among these people.
Yes, yes, foreigners, they have taken charge of these areas, the neighboring countries like Burkina Faso, and then also the surprising thing was about the Guineans who were also in that group. But if you come to the border district and even in the Upper West region, where we have some of these illegal miners, majority of the people these are foreigners. I remember sometime last year, the Upper West region is also did a team to Danyokura, and then the people that were arrested, 12 people that were arrested, all of them were Burkinabes, and they were having sophisticated weapons, more sophisticated than what even our locals are using here.
This must be really serious in the area. How is this affecting activities in Bole, the illegal mining? I mean,
when you take a look at what is really happening in some of these areas, especially like the border district, or when you come to places like the what that we are talking about, where this illegal mining is taking place, it's being done by these illegal miners. You can see that the land is destroyed. And then also, in some cases, the people will tell you that it's also affecting the water. Because I remember one time, one assembly member from the Bole district complained about the mining in the black water, and they were saying that it was affecting their harvest. And also, there was this worry also regarding this issue, where people thought that the water that will be moved to the moving to the Bui Dam will be affected. And also, when you even come to the issue of you have majority, most children are not even going to school now because of this galamsey, because they think that is where their bed will be. But for now,
I see. We'll leave it here for now, Rafiq. Rafiq Salam joined us from the Upper West region. Into the Ashanti region, medical doctors at the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital last Thursday called off their 10-day boycott after they were attacked by irate youth over the missing dead baby saga. The Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection says it has noted with concern the issues surrounding the alleged missing dead baby born to Madam Zueba Abdul Mumin at the hospital a few weeks ago. A statement signed by Communications Advisor at the Ministry of Gender and Children and Social Protection, Mercy Ejapin, stated clearly worrying is the trauma the mother is going through as a result of nagging questions that would otherwise have alleviated her pain and loss. According to the ministry, the current situation raises grave concerns about the institutional processes and procedures that guarantee the protection of the rights of women such as Zueba Abdul Mumin. The ministry is urging Sister Ministry of Health, the police, Ashanti Rexeg, and others concerned to, as a matter of urgency, get to the bottom of the issue and other similar cases to unravel the truth. Meanwhile, the National Chief Imam, who also visited relatives over the weekend, has called for a presidential inquiry. Let's get a quick update since the doctors returned to post. Mohammed Nuruddin is Joynews' Ashanti regional correspondent. He's joined us over the telephone. Hello, Mohammed.
Hello, Kamini.
What can you tell us since the return of the doctors?
Well, they are working at the hospital. Since they have returned, I think patients are going to the hospital for their checkups and medical treatment. And as I visited the hospital today, there are so many patients there waiting for doctors or nurses to attend to them.
We also understand that the Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection is visiting the hospital today.
No, what I know is that the minister is visiting the family today, and
I see.
We visiting the family today. So a few minutes ago, when I spoke with the family, they told me she was supposed to be there in the morning, but they are still waiting for her. She is not yet in. They are waiting for her to come.
I see. They do not know why she hasn't seen them yet?
No, they don't know why she is not yet in, but they are ready to meet her. They are in the family house waiting for her.
Nuruddin, what's the latest on finding this baby?
Hello?
I'm asking what you know about the latest as far as finding the stillborn is concerned.
What I know about?
Finding the baby.
Yeah.
What's the latest with that?
For now, we haven't gathered anything new apart from what we have already. We haven't gathered anything new. We are trying to see if we can speak to the police to find out what
I
the
see.
new thing they have now.
Thank you very much, Mohammed. Mohammed Nuruddin joined us from the Ashanti region. Let's move on to something else. And the Ghana Institution of Surveyors has inducted into office J.T. Odamite as its new president. He takes over from James E.K. Datson, who has served in that capacity over the last 1 year.
The Ghana Institution of Surveyors is the leading source of professional advice on landed property and construction in Ghana. The institution is a member of the International Federation of Surveyors and also of the Commonwealth Association of Surveyors and Land Economy. The annual Presidential Surveyors Ball saw the new president inducted into office to steer affairs of the institute for the next 1 year.
Full of authority for the conduct of all meetings of the Governing Council of the Ghana Institution of Surveyors 2014-2015 session. Thank you.
New members were also inducted into the institute.
Having been elected a governing council member of the Ghana Institution of Surveyors.
Former president shared some of the challenges they faced in the past and urged the newly appointed president of the Surveyors to work hard to achieve their goals.
As a human institution, we've always had challenges. And during my time, we've had to deal with, people who practice as surveyors who are not surveyors. And we have pushed very hard to get the Survey Council Bill and the Estate Agency Bill passed into law so that they become acts. Governing Council for 2014 and 2015. I'll urge them to let the team spirit prevail at all times, Wisdom is not in the head of only one person. Everybody's ideas matter. Let us all continue to work together.
Legal practitioner Akoto Ampao says the judicial service is overwhelmed with its core functions. He was on the AM show this morning.
Will constitute a major obstruction to the citizens' right to information held by public bodies if it is not amended and is passed in the current state. And because of that, I want to say something that may be a bit surprising. Some of us would not want this bill to be passed into law. We are better off with a right to information bill that is consistent with the provisions of the Constitution of Ghana and also international human rights norms and standards. But you can have a law that is titled a right to information law, but the contents of which are crafted in such a way as to be an obstruction to the citizens' right of access to information. And we in the Ghana Coalition on the Right to Information believe that the contents of this bill are crafted as to obstruct the right to information. And because of that, we would call upon the general public, especially members of the media fraternity and also civil society organizations, to take a hard look at the contents of the bill and advise themselves as to whether this is the kind of law we want or whether Ghana deserves something better. This bill has been in the making since 2002, 2003. And we have persistently, consistently brought our concerns to the attention of the powers that be it the MPP government or the NDC government. This bill has struggled across both parties, so you can't say that the problem is with a particular party. It is with the politicians. They don't want a law on the right to information that will open up the processes of governance and ensure accountability and transparency. That is why we have a bill of this nature.
You're watching News Today with me, Kemini Nyamani Amana, and I'll be right back. Thank you very much for staying on News Today. Now, President of the Ghana Chamber of Commerce, Dr. Sese J. Ban, is asking the central bank to ensure they do not collapse businesses by churning out regulations that are not market-friendly. He says although new forex regulations will aid in stabilizing local currency, the Bank of Ghana must find the right approach in its implementation.
It's a position along the line government has to take to stabilize our currency, for which we do not blame the government for that. We think is the right step. What we are looking at is the approach so that it doesn't affect businesses or collapse businesses. Most of our ladies who are in the SMEs, who trade within the continent, going to Togo, Ivory Coast and other places to buy goods, most of them don't do LCs. They just take their money because they go and buy 5 here, 6 here, 10 here, 11 here, put them together and ship them here. We should not do things that will disturb or destroy their businesses because they are a chunk of the private sector in Ghana. If we say we are going to get the money as and when we need it to import, then there's no challenge. If I want to import something 100,000 and government says yes, bring your cedis, I give you the money at the government rate, you can transfer. Then what is the challenge? The challenge is that maybe, yes, we can keep dollars, but when we need it, we can't get it. That is where we'll see the real challenge. So let's see how it goes. Let's support government, and if it's not going right, we'll sit down and look at how best we can engage to direct how to go for us to be able to run our businesses.
If you're thinking of purchasing a smartphone, this is indeed good news for you. Mozilla has shown off a prototype for a $25 smartphone that is aimed at the developing world. Now, that's good. The company, which is famed mostly for its Firefox browser, has partnered with Chinese low-cost chip maker Spreadtrum. While not as powerful as more expensive models, the device will run apps and make use of mobile internet. And analysts say it would appeal to the sorts of people who currently buy cheap feature phones. Feature phones are highly popular in the developing world as a halfway point between what you may call dumb phones, just voice calls and other basic functions, and fully fledged smartphones. Chinese electronics giant Huawei has unveiled several new products, including what it called the world's first hybrid smart band. The talk band includes a detachable headset, and that can be used to make and receive calls. Huawei executive Xiao Yang says the company has spent the past 4 years catching up with the industry, but now it is time to become number one. The firm also refreshed the smartphone lineup with the Ascend G6 and 2 new phablets, which it hopes can challenge the Apple's iPad mini. Analysts said the firm would price its devices aggressively. Baba Tando brings us sports after the Stongwe.
Good afternoon to you. My name is Baba Tando. Time now to talk about the latest in the world of sports. Now, defender Isaac Vosa has expressed huge disappointment on reports of him being a doubt for the 2014 FIFA World Cup finals after he gained full fitness to play in the World Cup. The Red Bull Salzburg centre-back has recovered 2 months ahead of schedule after he encountered a torn anterior cruciate knee ligament in May. The 25-year-old was scheduled to return to action after 6 months and has started full-scale training with a personal training assistant ahead of his scheduled return. Last month, he was named in Salzburg's winter training tour of Qatar and was separated from his team to do extra work on the touchlines. Vosa is likely to play some few matches before the end of the season. Ghana coach Kwesi Appiah has mentioned him as part of his fair idea of the team to make the World Cup squad for the tournament in Brazil. His experience will be needed at the back after playing at the 2010 World Cup finals and last 2 Africa Cup of Nations finals. His position has now been taken by the likes of youngsters Rashid Sumaila, Jonathan Mensah, Awal Mohammed, and Jerry Akamenko, and they have held the fort in his absence. Carlos Tevez struck his 14th league goal of the campaign to secure a 1-0 derby win over Torino and help Juventus restore their 9-point lead over second-placed Roma on Sunday. Away from Italy, Barcelona lost ground on arch-rivals Real Madrid in the Spanish La Liga title race after they were beaten 3-1 by Real Sociedad. Meanwhile, Atletico Madrid missed a chance to overtake Barcelona as they also suffered a heavy 3-0 defeat away to Osasuna. To the English Premier League now, and Jordan Henderson's second strike of the game ensured Liverpool saw off Swansea 4-3 to stay clear in 4th place. Certainly a nail-biting game to watch if you ask me. We're still with the English Premier League, and Yaya Touré's 70th minute winner maintained his side's Premier League title push as Pellegrini's Chargers kept pace with rivals Chelsea and Arsenal. Olivier Giroud marked his return to action with 2 goals as Arsenal thrashed Sunderland by 4-1 to stay a point behind Premier League leaders Chelsea. Well, I'm really hoping that Arsenal can replicate this scoring form in the Champions League where they meet Bayern Munich in the second leg, actually, at the Allianz Arena in Germany, the second leg of the UEFA Champions League. And that will do it for sports, which is proudly brought to you by Tigo and Cowbell. My name is Baba Tando. The news comes back after this break. Do stay on.
You're still watching News Today. From sports, a media foundation for West Africa says despite Ghana's progress over the years as far as the involvement of women in the media is concerned, it is still lower and is calling for concerted efforts to increase women's participation.
You see, in the media, there are 2 categories of people. We have those who create content. And then we also have people who participate in media programs. By way of the creation of content, if you look at the report, for instance, we are saying that if we aggregate all the people who featured in the programs as moderators or presenters of news or morning show discussions or whatever current affairs discussions that were recorded, and you realize that when it comes to production of content, looking at moderators and presenters, looking at the number in total, we have about 46% of them being women, which we think is commendable. But then we are saying that even that could be improved. Morning shows are not male-dominated areas, such that you can't have women also hosting such programs. They can. When we appeal to the media, we are not just appealing to the producers and then the program staff. We are also appealing to the managers and then the program managers, general managers, that in as much as we try to feature men, we should also make that conscious effort to feature women. If you don't feature the person, you wouldn't know how competent that person may be. So if you give that person that platform, then you know that she can perform as much as a man can or even do better. In 2 sentences, Foundation for West Africa in collaboration with FOSDA and WANEP. Yes, that's the 3 groups. We form an alliance, and so the group has come together, and we are embarking on this project. And as part of the project, we are compiling that database so that we can make it accessible to the media houses, so that as and when they need, then they can follow on those people.
I don't think we've sidelined women in our programming. We make a conscious effort to invite women to participate in our programming. But then, of course, the onus is on them to decide whether they want to be a part of it. I'll give you a typical example. When we started the year 2014, we wanted to start with an all-female panel. And it may not be fair to them to mention names here, but we extended invitations to people across the political divide, across academia, etc., to join us on Newsfile, which is Joy FM and Multi TV's weekend current affairs talk program. 2 days to the event, 2 of our panelists called to cancel their appearance and said we're not going to be on the program. They wouldn't give reasons, but from my experience, it took me the first time, and I've heard of a few things that inform such hasty, quick turnarounds.
For example?
Well, sometimes political pressure, especially if it concerns an issue that is politically sensitive and people just feel they shouldn't be the ones out there speaking. It happens. There are other times also where you get a sense that women generally don't want to be in the hot throes of politics, much as they are playing out a political function, etc. When issues that are sensitive or controversial come up, there's a certain timidity may not be the right thing to say, but I think that society has a way of dealing with them that makes them feel uncomfortable. Perhaps men are better positioned in our very macho society to take some of these blows, but women find it really difficult because they cater for families and all that. So all these things play out. I can't explain fully why they do so, but it's consistent. You invite them, they turn you down. A few of them have been quite vocal and active. I can name a few of them. Mrs. Esla Usu Ekufo, she would do radio any day regardless of the issues. CPP also have a number of people who would appear. We've tried a couple of them over the period, and sometimes from personal reasons they may decide not to be on the program. If you recall, last year we had the show hosted by a woman for a period of time.
Elsewhere, Ukraine has issued a warrant for the arrest of ousted President Viktor Yanukovych. The interim interior ministers announced. Arsene Avakov said in a Facebook post a criminal case had been opened against Yanukovych and other officials over mass murder of peaceful citizens. MPs voted to remove Yanukovych on Saturday after months of protests sparked by his rejection of an EU deal. A crackdown on the protests last week left dozens dead. New interim president is promising to chart a course toward European integration now that Russian-backed President Viktor Yanukovych has been ousted. Meanwhile, Russia has called its ambassador to Ukraine over what it described as the deteriorating situation in the country. Moscow has condemned the removal of President Viktor Yanukovych, who was dismissed by MPs on Saturday. Everybody, Ibrahim is an international news analyst. Has joined us over the telephone. We'll talk about Ukraine-Russia relations over the next few minutes. Hello, everybody.
Hello, Chairman. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. Now, Russia has recalled its ambassador to Kiev, and on Sunday, U.S. national security advisors warned it will not be in Russia's interest to intervene. Could this be another Cold War?
Chairman, I think two interpretations can be inferred from what is happening in Ukraine. Needless to say, the first one underpins the avarice of a leader who chose to live in outlandish opulence as the rest of the population wallowed in abject penury. Incredible footage has emerged of some of Yanukovych's palaces tiled with marble and decorated with furniture glistening with golden embroidery. Therefore, some assume that the humiliation that has befallen him is befitting of a greedy leader like him. The other interpretation, which I think is more important, is the impact this will have on the geopolitics of Eastern Europe. Such an outcome is likely to evoke the Cold War rivalry that existed between the East and the West from 1945 and 1989 when the Berlin Wall fell. Such rivalry, as you know, took quite a toll on global politics and had casualties like our own Dr. Nkrumah when he was leaning to the East. So, Chemeni, I think Russia seems to have economically lost one of its former republics now, and any further westernization of Ukraine would prove costly to Russia because since President Bush's time, Ukraine has been the subject of a heated debate to situate an anti-missile defense system against any future Russian hostility towards Europe and the West. So the American Security and National Security Advisors caution, and Susan Rice, is that Russia should not take any unilateral decision like the one it took in 2008 in one of its post-republics, Georgia, when it invaded Georgia in 2008 after Georgia had attacked South Ossetia. So I think the coming days and the rhetoric from those capitals, Moscow and Washington, will determine the trajectory of Ukraine's political future after the ouster of Yanukovych.
Let's talk about how will this trickle down naturally to individual relations, considering a lot of Ukrainians have Russian descent?
It's Exactly. You know, the EU has been spreading its tentacles and has been encroaching upon territory that naturally should be Russia's, even though the Soviet Union is no longer existent. They lost Poland, they've lost Yugoslavia, they've lost a couple. So they are not losing only on the economic front, they are also losing politically. Because the more these former republics, Soviet republics, lean to the West, the more they will jettison the political system of socialism or communism and embrace democracy. So Vladimir Putin is not taking this lightly at all. And therefore, I would expect a robust reaction from the Russians. An open warfare in Ukraine may not be an option on the table, but acts of sabotage in future should be expected. And therefore, it's going to have a cross-crossing effect on both the people living in Russia and Ukraine. Russia would try its best to further tighten the noose around any government that is devoid of the people it supports, so that it economically strangulates Ukraine to prove to the world that their leaning towards the EU was not a correct option. But people like Catherine Ashton, the one in charge of EU's foreign affairs, have given indications that they are ready to pump in enough money and to support a democratic transitional process in Ukraine. That would put Ukrainians on a better pedestal than what they were on when they were under Yanukovych, who was supported by the Russians.
I see. Thank you very much, Ilbrad Ibrahim is an international news analyst. Now, a British forensic audit report on Malawi's Cashgate scandal has been turned over to the government. Government spokesperson Brown Impiganjira said the contents of the report will still not be made public until it was presented to Parliament. The report is expected to detail how more than $250 million of the taxpayers' money was looted from government coffers between April and September 2013 in what is known as the Cashgate scandal. More than 60 people, including government officials, civil servants and business persons, were arrested and charged with various offences. The report was originally set for publication on February 14. However, the decision to turn over the report came after angry reactions from Malawians who had been pushing for release of the documents before May elections. Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni is expected Monday to sign a law criminalizing homosexuality. Ugandan Parliament passed the measure in December, which lays out a 14-year sentence for first-time offenders and life in prison for those convicted of aggravated homosexuality. The original bill called for the death penalty in some cases, but that was dropped as Western nations and rights groups criticize what they say is discriminatory effort. President Barack Obama said earlier this month he was deeply disappointed with the law and that it will reflect poorly on Uganda's commitment to its citizens' human rights. Homosexuality is legal in 37 African nations. In showbiz, American-based female rapper Nicki Minaj has been slapped with a $30 million lawsuit by her former hairstylist. The stylist, Terrence Davidson, is suing the rapper for selling wigs based on his designs without his permission.
That I can have this moment for life.
Nicki Minaj is noted for her use of colorful wigs in her music videos and even during her public appearances. Most of these wigs apparently were designed for her by her former hairstylist, Terrence Davidson, who began working for the rapper in 2010. Davidson created multiple wigs for high-profile events as well as for the video for this song, Super Bass. Davidson claims he had previously discussed a joint business venture with Minaj to launch a line of wigs. He, however, said the star went ahead, took a number of his popular wig designs without his consent and used them to start her own wig line, resulting in at least $30 million in losses. Representatives for Minaj have yet to comment on the legal action. But according to legal papers filed in Atlanta, the hairstylist says he also turned down a contract for a reality TV show on the advice of one of Minaj's representatives, with the promise of creating his own reality show with a star about being a celebrity wig stylist. Mr. Davidson, whose celebrity clients also include singers Patti LaBelle and Jennifer Hudson, stopped working as Minaj's stylist in early 2013, citing creative differences.
This is News Today. Our headlines again. Ghana Water Company Limited reschedules its planned shutdown of the Pond Water Treatment Plant from February 24 to 27. Meanwhile, parts of Accra still hit by acute water shortage. Black Stars defender Isaac Vosa expresses disappointment on reports of him being doubt for the 2014 FIFA World Cup finals after he gains full fitness to play in the World Cup. Ukrainian Interior Minister says warrant issued for arrest of former President Viktor Yanukovych. Well, that'll be all. There's more news on myjoyonline.com. Thank you very much for staying on. My name is Kimini Nyamani Emmanuel. Goodbye for now.